I'll call this meeting to order, and I'm going to add Michelle Cherier, our representative to the Wyndham Solid Waste Management District, is going to come by later this evening to fill us in on what's going on down there and hopefully give us some budget numbers. And with that, we have minutes from November 21st and the 28th, and not everyone was there, so let's do minutes from November 21st.
Well, I'll move we approve the minutes from November 21st.
I'll second. Go ahead. I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and now we have the minutes of November 28th.
I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes of November 28th.
Okay,
I'll second that.
any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll abstain.
I
Okay,
did that on the other one.
Yeah.
then moving on, we have warrants 12, 12P, and from the Conservation Commission, number 4. What would you like to do?
All right, well, I'll move that we approve warrants 12, 12P, and Conservation Commission number 4.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? Under warrants 12, the total is $13,530.16, and that went towards fuel. We got a load of salt for the highway at $3,046. Fisher & Fisher providing legal advice over a period of several months, $2,356. There were payroll transfers, gravel and sand from the carpenter pit, and a payment to the company that provides the software for the tabulator machine. So, any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. So, if it's all right with everyone, we'll we have a representative from BCTV. They've sent us a letter regarding the fundings that they've received in the past, the sources for that, and they'd like to address that issue. If it's all right with everyone, we'll move that up to.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Okay. Lynn, Barrett.
Okay, just come sit
Yeah,
down
right
over here.
Right up here. Yes.
All right.
Yes.
I have some notes.
Good.
All right, let's see, get on pretty quickly. So,
See?
I don't know if you know, but I've been in Dummerston quite a while now. I live across the street. And I used to be a board member. I used to be a president of BCTV, and now I'm just a board member. So, I'm just going to give a little background to remind people a little bit about BCTV, and particularly the select board here in Dummerston. We've been covering the meetings since 2011. We also cover other things that happen in Dummerston, like the Dummerston Conservation Commission meetings. I have a list here. School board meetings, WSESU Act 46 Study Committee. We provide residents also. One of the things I think that's really interesting is that we do provide training to people, so people can take out equipment, they can produce their own shows, and that sort of thing if they have an issue to talk about. We also cover the Dummerston Memorial Day at the Grange. And Derek Jordan, who is a member, lives in East Dummerston, has a new show called the World Fusion Show, which is actually, has a nationwide following. So here we are on TV. We are award-winning. We received the Overall Excellence Award last year from the Alliance for Community Media, which is a national problem. We produce 1,200 hours of new local content each year, and it continues to grow. And of course, that is featuring, you know, you and me and other people who live here in southern Wyndham County. So that information and that programming is available on cable and also online, because we stream everything. Everything is also on YouTube. So you can always be aware of what's going on in the area. So, why am I here? We have some new threats to our funding. So just going forward, I don't know if you've seen stories in the Reformer or in the Commons this week, or Reformer last week, but up until now we've been funded by a small cable subscriber fee. That if you're, if you have cable TV, percentage of your bill, like $5, goes to help fund public access, which is what we are. Recently, the FCC has threatened to take that away, that they would allow cable companies, which fund BCTV, like Southern Vermont Cable and Comcast Cable, to deduct the value of the in-kind services that they provide. For example, just to hook us up and put our channels on their network, they're saying that they can deduct the value of that so that we don't get that money, okay? In addition, so that would mean the $5 that we're getting from each subscriber would go away. And that's our funding. So all of a sudden, we may not have any funding. So there's going to be, they're going to be voting on it this summer, so we don't know exactly what's going to happen, but everyone believes that it's going to go through. All right.
So, Lynn, when you say they are going to be voting on it, who's they?
Well, the FCC and the Congress.
Okay.
Yeah. We are, just so you know, we're definitely working with our legislatures. And we also work closely with VAN, which is a Vermont network group of all the public access stations, and also a national organization. Because this is all across the country. This is not just BCTV. This is all the Vermont stations and across the country. Now, we are a nonprofit, and as you know, we have not had to seek funding elsewhere. I mean, some of the local businesses do provide funding for certain things, but pretty much we get the fee. How we operate is through the cable companies. So, how you can help?
Well, you also, if, say, the Conservation Commission wants BCTV to tape, then they pay.
There are certain, yes, certain specific things where we do a lot of work with Landmark College, and we help them quite a bit in covering graduation, special programming. There is a small fee attached to that, but that barely covers the cost of, it's not like we're making any money on that sort of thing. We're just paying for our volunteers and employees to cover those events. So one of the first things that would be helpful is, and I think Zeke, you mentioned this, is that if you could send a letter to the FCC, and we've provided a template. You just do it online. I have a sample that Newfane has sent, which I can leave with you. That's a step. We're going to try and get all across the country as many letters into the FCC as possible. It has to be done by the end of the day of December 14th. Okay, so that's coming right up.
Right.
It took me about 5 minutes to do it. You fill in the blanks, and I can leave you with that information. So another thing that's also happening that is reducing our funding, this is actually happening now, is that people are cutting the cord. People are watching online, and they're not necessarily having cable TV. They can just stream on their computer, and they don't need cable TV. So, in fact, that's already reduced almost $20,000 worth of our funding, just because of the way things are going in technology. So that doesn't help us either. So you combine that with what could happen with the FCC, which is very likely, and the fact that Comcast's, people are cutting the cords, or not that many subscribers, or people are reducing their subscriptions, we're concerned. So what is a potential remedy? So what we are doing is going to the individual select boards, and we're requesting some funding. What we have come up with, make sure I get this right, is that in order for us to continue to cover these meetings, we're requesting a fee of $1,500. Now, for a year. This $1,500 represents a rate of 0.85 cents per person in living in this area in Dummerston. So that it's for the territory of Dummerston. And obviously, we don't want to ask for funding, we don't like to do that. We've never had to do that in the past, but this is the situation we're in. And we really could use your help. If we don't want to stop covering the meetings. And, we think the whole reason that public access came into being many years ago, back in 1934, the idea was that broadcast television, basically the people didn't have an opportunity to participate in broadcast television. Mm-hmm. I mean, television came to you, you watched it, you didn't, and you didn't have a voice. I mean, there was a time when they did allow some public service announcements and that sort of thing, but most of that has also gone away. So really, it's the public access stations that let people participate in democracy, if you will. And so we think it's important. We hope you all think it's important as well. And we know that, the people that participate in BCTV think it's important. So I guess that's what we're asking for. We'll hope you consider that. And if you have any questions, I'm here to answer some questions, and I have some background material, fact sheets and that sort of thing to give you.
Okay, so we have a cover letter here from that we received. We also have the template and the addresses and instructions for filing FCC reply comments. So
right.
I think we're pretty good.
Okay.
On information.
I have a sample of what Newfane sent. If you want to have that, I'm happy to give you that. We have the instructions for filing if somebody needs an extra copy. I think you have that there.
We've got it, yeah.
I have,
we've got that.
I have the letter
We've got that.
that you were sent.
Yeah, we're very,
You guys are right up to date here.
Yeah,
Actually, I have one for everybody if you need.
Well, we
No?
also
Yes,
subscribe
no?
to the paperwork.
Okay, I understand. Of course, we've got a paperwork. I have a fact sheet.
I think we have the fact sheet.
You
Yes,
do?
we do.
We got that.
You guys, what else do
Yeah,
I have?
yeah.
Hold on, let me see if there's something else here. I have a copy of the Commons article that was in today's Commons, if you'd like to have only one.
We'll put
one
it
of
in the
those.
archive, sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
and a copy of the story in the Brattleboro
Okay.
Reformer, which basically discusses what's happening. And I know it was on NBC News, NBC local news last night. I mean, it's all over the country this is taking place. So that's where we are.
So, as far as your budget request,
Yes.
if you could put that in writing, that's the
Yes,
one
that
thing
was
you
in-
don't have in writing.
We don't have that in writing
so-
because we need to know if there's something special that we need to be doing to put that in writing. Is there some,
No, you would
okay,
write to the select board, and
okay,
it can be done by email.
okay,
And, make your pitch
okay,
and the amount, and then we'll consider it. We're working on the budget from now until the end of January.
Okay.
And we'll,
Yeah, we're doing that right now, so your timing is
Well,
good.
we had hoped to get here earlier, but we didn't know
No, but this
this is
timing is
happening,
perfect.
so,
Yeah,
okay, good.
The timing is just perfect.
end of January, so the sooner the better. I'm assuming we put our request
sooner
in,
the better.
and we will get that to you ASAP.
Great.
And
Yeah,
thank
just
you.
send it to selectboard@dummerston.org. Right, that gets to everyone. Yeah.
This letter, is it going, who's the addressee? Who's it going to?
It's going to Chairman Pei. He is the commissioner
FCC.
of the FCC.
Yep.
Okay, so is this simply an FCC regulation that they're changing the funding, or is this through a Congressional Authorization Act, which is a current
Well,
budget, you know?
It will have to be voted on,
Okay.
yeah. But what, they just did the net neutrality,
Mhm,
and that was, everybody was up in arms about that, but guess what? It passed.
mhm.
And Vermont has, my understanding is Vermont has opposed it, and now they're being sued. So, very likely, unfortunately, this is gonna pass.
Okay.
But we
But I
wanna
say-
make as much noise as we
Yeah.
can, and we wanna get people, you know,
So if this is going to be an authorization act, so this is something you could write to your individual congressman or senator.
absolutely.
And
Now,
so I guess my point is
Leahy,
get this out. so
get it out there.
let
Leahy
people
and
know.
Sanders have signed on to a
Yeah.
letter by Senator Markey of
Okay.
Massachusetts. We've talked to Peter Welch about getting involved, so that anyone in Dummerston, anyone in southern Vermont, anyone in the world can write a letter to their congressman or to their representative, and we hope that happens. We're also gonna reach out to have people, you know, if they're interested, to write editorials in the newspaper, or letters to the editor about this,
Mhm.
taking away, you know, some form of public input to national, you know, to media. So, absolutely, the more noise we can make, the better, for everybody.
Michelle, you've been raising that
Okay.
hand quite a bit.
Yes.
Oh,
Hi,
hi.
I'm Michelle Cherier. I'm
Hi.
a resident of Dummerston.
Yes.
And I haven't read the article today in the Commons, but my take on this, and you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong,
Okay.
is that it looks a lot like the federal government is just trying to get out of the position of being the collector of the funds and turning it back over to all of the local governments. Would you see it that way?
I don't necessarily see it that way. I think we see it as Comcast and other major cable companies being able to make more money, which then goes back to their
So the
There are
big
people.
pro-business,
pro-business.
but it
Yeah.
still puts it back in the lap of local government as to whether or not they want to see monies
Well,
given
I
to.
mean, that's, yes, there are stations across the country that are already supported by local government, and even here in Vermont. We have tried not to do that. We have tried to stay within the means of what we're getting from the cable companies. But there are other access stations that are, well, in Burlington, for example, that are operated through the municipalities. And as I say, we're going to go to each of the municipalities and explain the situation, and because we want to keep going, we think it's important. Obviously, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't.
Right. So, what would you like to do?
As far as submitting the letter,
Yeah.
do we have someone who's going to take that if we,
I had someone in mind.
okay?
I mean, I would do it.
Okay.
And
But-
I'll make a motion that we submit a letter to the FCC.
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, I guess, you know, it used to be, and Louis, you'll remember, it used to be we'd have reporter from the Reformer here every meeting.
Oh, yeah.
And then, actually, the next day, usually Thursday morning, I go out, get the paper, and there we'd be on the front page of the paper.
That's right.
Well, that's the problem, that's the one thing with this TV, is we don't get as many people coming to the meetings. We used to have people at the meetings.
Yeah.
Now we have no,
Right.
sorry, you're not, no,
It's okay.
but you're here for a reason.
Yes.
But you don't have people coming to the meetings because they can
It's
watch it on
available.
TV.
Yeah, and then
Correct.
you get,
So we don't get to communicate with the residents of the town because of you.
right.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yikes. But they're getting to communicate, they can see what you're doing.
But Zeke has a worldwide following.
That's it.
There you
Yes,
go.
exactly,
Right,
exactly.
gone viral.
Exactly. Well, one of the things, of course, even with, like, as you probably know, with Reformer, I mean, people are not buying newspapers anymore. So how many people do they have to be coming to these meetings?
Right.
That's another issue. However, for example, the Commons watches BCTV so that they can report on what's happening at the meetings.
That was the point, is
Yeah.
usually we had
I
them
know,
come here
yeah,
in person.
I know, but I mean, so it does end up in the paper at least as well.
But
So-
yes, I think most people who are interested now are tuning in and they can see gavel to gavel coverage.
And if they have a problem, they can come here.
They do, and that's
And
exactly what happens. I mean, I
Okay.
think more people are aware of what's going on in a meeting
Yeah.
because they watch it on TV than would have come to the meeting in person. So
Yeah.
I think Lewis's
Yeah.
comment is instructive, but not necessarily,
Negative.
Yeah, I mean, when you say so, Lewis, I mean,
Oh, yeah, it's
yeah,
just,
yeah.
It's
an important
it's
point,
a
but
change in our lives, actually,
yeah,
with technology.
yeah.
right.
Great. So we've got a motion and a second to send a letter to the FCC. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And Geraldine has graciously volunteered to do this, and where did I put that?
And we'll look forward to getting your
Okay, great.
email about
Okay.
funding,
Okay,
and then
perfect.
we will
Go
respond to
from there.
that.
Okay, great.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Good.
thanks
Okay.
very much.
Thank you very much.
Have a
I'll
good
have to
trip.
come more often. I'm right across the street.
Well, you can watch it on
Articles.
TV.
Watch it on TV.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks a
Yeah,
lot.
and thanks for your work with BCTV.
Well,
It's really,
I love it.
it's impressive.
Remember, I used to work for CBS.
Oh, right, yes.
And I keep my name in the game here.
Yeah.
Thank
I'll
you.
take those 2 articles.
Okay.
Okay, there we go. Great, finding a home for everything now. So, you want to go back to our regularly scheduled program? Let's see, well, I guess Michelle, if you'd like to come in under recognition of visitors and public comments, since we didn't have time to officially put you in the agenda.
Much appreciated.
Yes. Aim to accomplish.
I did write out
It makes me
a,
nervous to see such a
Huge binder.
yeah,
stack?
Huge
oh, well, you know,
binder.
consider that a year's worth of paper.
Okay.
And you're acting as secretary, right, Maria? That's a copy of the memo, which I haven't emailed to you yet. However, it's good to see you again. And I did, as always, write an inter-office memo, so to speak. And you'll get this in email. Clearly, I'm not trying to give you a synopsis of an entire year's worth of activity, but I am going to touch on the highlights.
All right.
And I believe that the first highlight is going to be that I'm including a copy of a very preliminary draft
Of the budget.
of the budget,
Okay.
as
With
you will need
Dummerston
that for
highlighted.
your budget work
Okay.
as you come up in the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
It has reached a level finally of post-MRF operations. For its expenses, it is 21% lower than the current year, FY19, and 43% lower than FY18, as expected. This budget is going to have a public review next Thursday, the 13th. That's when the board next meets. The public meeting, of course, is at 6:30 p.m. And then after that, it will be voted on by the Board of Supervisors at their final meeting for this year at 7 o'clock. And everyone's invited to attend. To the best of my knowledge, there hasn't been any feedback thus far from any of the member towns. And I'm hoping that, you know, you're also going to be included in that for passage of this budget. It's a reasonable budget for what the revenues and expenses are at this point in time.
And Michelle, when you say there hasn't been any feedback from the resident towns, you don't mean on the budget, you mean on the MRF itself and our experience of it and what's been happening in the last, because we haven't seen the budget. So it's just in general feedback.
Right, in general feedback,
Complaints,
right.
compliments, that kind of thing.
And I believe if all the members are meeting with their town boards, as I hope they are, then they're also going to give them a little preview so that they can, you know, the select boards can do their work properly and include it in the upcoming year's budget. And boy, after hearing from BCTV, I certainly hope that this gives us an opportunity to consider them, you know, in a good way. Because this is significantly less than we've seen in many years. Obviously, there's no more operation.
You offer considerably less than you have.
Yes.
I mean, it's obvious.
Yes, there is no MRF anymore.
Yeah.
That is correct.
We don't get much and we pay a little less, so I mean.
Or a lot less in this case.
I wouldn't go that far.
Let's not get
Carried away here.
Yeah.
Look at, what do you see the total year as? $12,811. I'm not sure if the town would be able to hire someone to do all of the work that the waste district does for that money.
Right, it's mostly the hazardous waste.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Writing the solid waste implementation plan is a big deal. More accurately keeping it up to date is a big deal. And having an educational component is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't come prepared with the usual list of all the things that are getting done by the district, but I personally wouldn't suggest, you know, entertaining a thought of, you know, going out on our own as an individual town and doing it ourselves. There was a reason that all the towns joined together. There's a great deal of strength and obviously cost sharing in having that particular organization there. And of course, we're probably, besides Brattleboro, the next closest town, unless you count Guilford.
So it is helpful to me, Michelle, to know what it is at this point in time, in talking to people, when people come up to me and, you know, we get into a conversation about this, for me to be able to easily articulate the 5 things that it still does.
I will send you a very detailed email giving the high points that you need. So,
So just off the top of your head, you know, people can go down and buy a sticker.
yes, they can.
You know, a permit for the year.
Yes.
And they can then bring, you know, their old sofas or old electronic equipment, and
Correct.
some there'll be additional fees for, they can take their recycling down there.
Correct.
Yeah.
It is a full-service major transfer station.
Okay.
Is really how it should be classified. Our town doesn't have one, and only about 45 or 50% of the towns in the district have their own transfer stations. They're very far away, so it kind of makes sense. So on a very small scale, they are also collecting those things that you just mentioned. I can't swear to furniture and large appliances, but yes, that's what they do there. And there's a significant number of things, and it's growing, for what can be dropped off for free as long as you have a sticker to prove that you belong to this district. So that's an important thing to remember. Of course, you can drop off your trash there, and you can drop off your recycling there unless you pay a hauler to take it. And at this point, of course, the district is passing along all the recycling and having it removed, and it goes to a single stream facility, Casella in Rutland. However, recently, well, not so recently, for the entire time that the MRF has been closed, the district always continued to collect cardboard. That actually still makes money. It still has a market of some sort. I'm not sure if it's going up or down or just holding stable, but a lot of people are participating. I've been impressed. The other thing is that there is an organization in Keene who will take the glass, which is by far the heaviest part of recycling, and so the fee to take that is nowhere near the $100 and X per ton that Casella charges. It's more like $35 a ton. So that's why there's a collection bin there for just glass. Again, it's helping our citizens actually live up to the letter of the law for recycling, which is required. There still are no recycling police. There's still no one looking over your shoulder to make sure, you know, your trash isn't full of recycling. I doubt that will ever come to pass. But, you know, we're extending whatever life we have on the one remaining landfill we have in Vermont before it starts getting trucked away. So there is that. Now, the other thing, of course, is education, which happens at all the district schools, and any business that requests it can have a visit from the programs manager. And they will come out free of charge and assist, advise, and, you know, recommend things that, you know, the caller can do to be more active and proactive in the recycle business. Also, of course, the very big deal about us as a kind of a tiny little district is we collect compost, and that started quite a few years ago now. And that's going to become a bigger and bigger service as time goes by, because the state's eventually going to require that food scraps and other organic materials not go into landfills. And people are going to say, well, what are we going to do? Well, our district has the answer already. They're taking it. And there's a lot more growth that could be made in that area on a number of levels. But that's a good one, because large producers must do it now. And that calendar is continuing to roll along since Act 148 started. And eventually, you know, one assumes it's going to fall down upon the shoulders of the residents too. Of course, household hazardous waste, you know, that's definitely, I will tell you straight up, a big money loser. It costs money to have that stuff hauled away. And even though the district, for the first time ever in its history, started to ask, could we please get a $10 fee with a 10-gallon limit, it nowhere near covers the number of items that are being brought to it. The average cost right now for all the number of participants, the cost to the district that gets paid out by us, by all the towns, is $100 per participant.
Really?
It's that high. Yeah, hazardous waste is a problem. And so this is an answer. People have the opportunity, and the district makes it known that if they want to travel, and there's no, I think, residency requirement, they could go all the way to Keene, and it's a flat $50, even if they were taking, you know, one can of, you know, some spray paint. It would be $50 to get rid of their hazardous waste there. So that's another talking point for you. And of course, in the long run, if you like to consider long-term advantage, starting this year, you know, the useless top of that landfill has been completely covered by a solar array, the largest on a landfill in the state of Vermont, and it's happily generating electricity and feeding it back into the grid. And there are all the towns that have signed into, you know, a long-term power agreement, of which the district is not a player. You know, we just allowed, the district towns allowed, you know, the investor to build on the landfill, but, you know, they reap the rewards if they signed up to take the benefit. And so there's another talking point. But I won't wear out your ears on a Wednesday night. I hope that's a good start anyway.
Yeah, no, that's helpful.
I did bring a copy just so that I could be refreshed. As of the last financial report for the 4 months ended 10/31, it's within budget. It's maintaining a modest surplus of $11,500, and I believe this condition is expected to continue for the foreseeable future. I mean, it doesn't look like there's any like wild gyrations or sudden surprises that we know of that could happen to the district. One can't tell the future.
So the solar company is just paying a lease,
Yes, they are.
annual lease fee for using the space?
Yes,
Yeah.
and they make their payments quarterly.
Okay,
And I believe the first one just got in.
all right.
So it's all on track. And in fact, the vice president who, Hugh, you saw him there speak at the ribbon cutting, he's been much in evidence. And he's coming down for next week's meeting. And I don't remember if he's been here. Yes, he was here for another visit. This would have been several weeks ago. I was privy to taking a hike around a very large landfill that's covered with solar arrays. You know, it was mostly a matter of reviewing the condition of the installation and whether or not, you know, the top of the landfill is being maintained in the manner which the state requires it to be because of the permit. And there were a number of things that have to be continually watched and taken care of to make sure there's no ponding of water anywhere that can get through the cap. It was a very long. It's the second time I've been out there on the landfill since it's been built on, and it's a complicated event out there. So people go out, and you know the employees of the waste district have to go out because there are gas wells out there that they have to monitor by law. So, you know, they're the first line of defense. They see, is there anything going on out there? But you know, Frank was here for that. That's Frank Ruffalo, the vice president. So they're not exactly just, you know, a face, you know, and a phone call away, you know, just that far. They're right there if you need them, or they appear to be so thus far.
Michelle, has the solid waste district got, as far as the lease payments from, I guess it's not Encore, who's the?
Sky Solar.
Sky Solar.
Yeah, they were a partner
So
too.
have they gotten full year lease payments yet, or did they just start paying the lease payments when this thing came online last summer?
When it came online in July, and so,
Okay,
you know,
so-
the first quarterly payment was just paid.
Okay, so
Correct.
next year, you should see additional lease payments coming through. So essentially, they only got 6 months worth of lease payments from Sky Solar for this year.
It was
But-
likely 3 months
Okay.
too.
So I guess my question I have is, so now that this thing's up and running, we should see additional lease payments come in, which will reduce this
I
further?
believe that the entire sum for the year was already calculated into that number, into that fund. Vicki Hayes, the accounting bookkeeper there.
Okay.
But
So
But is your
whacked
question
out.
about next year?
Right.
That we'll
Right.
get a full year?
Right, that's what I'm recognizing.
Well,
This-
This budget would be for.
That
taking
is for a full year, correct,
A full year of
of $102,000,
Okay,
correct.
so we won't see, so there won't be additional reductions, at least based on
Not likely.
lease payments?
Not
Okay,
based
so
on
that's all
lease
figured
payments.
into here now? Okay.
Correct, correct.
Gotcha.
Now, the district is going to be advertising, you'll see in the various papers, for the programs manager position in the near future if they haven't already. the manager that we've had for the past 10 years. She's leaving for a higher level position in North Carolina.
Who's that?
That's Kristen Benoit.
Oh,
And she's been doing all of the education, the SWIP
awesome.
work. She
Yeah.
is amazing.
Yeah.
She also was the former district clerk after Kathleen Harris, who was there forever. So the only two people I've ever known for clerks were Kathleen and Kristen. And we have a new clerk now, a very nice woman, Minnie Bennett. But you know, Kristen's going to be missed, and it is the only full-time position that's at the Waste District office. Just thought you'd be interested to know that, because everybody else works part-time. And we already talked about the solar array. The district has applied for and has been waiting to hear from the Vermont A&R about its application for an unusually large grant. The state's providing it for funding composting and anaerobic digesting facilities for municipalities that are recycling food scraps. A rather long expression, but they never make money available, and the grant is for close to $500,000. And so clearly it's intended for compost facility infrastructure, and when you talk about what is the district doing for us, I mean, that's a service that I would find difficult to replace. I mean, it's possible. There are other people who are accepting compost. I don't know what the fees are at this point, but potential uses for this money could be to simply buy equipment and not take all the money. It could be to have a full compost aeration system installed, which is not there now, or even an anaerobic digester, which of course is the top of the food chain in terms of taking care of all kinds of wastes, things that, you know, not necessarily Dummerston would create, but, you know, other towns could create. Probably Brattleboro creates it. They're the largest town in the district. So, and all that again would end up, if there was an anaerobic digester, feed electricity back into the GMP public power grid, if it existed. And I believe that news should be available shortly about that grant. Item of note about the grant is that the state's assuming that, you know, the recipient is only going to use the amount that they get assigned, 40% of that amount, and that they would then go out and find another 60% somewhere from someone else, you know, to match it. So there are conditions for this grant, even though it's a large sum of money.
Where would you go to get?
I'm not sure,
okay.
to be honest with you. I think, you know, any and all ideas, recommendations, and, you know, advice is accepted for who are, you know, private entrepreneurs that want to invest in something that is never going to go away, as far as I can tell. That's my take on it.
Yeah.
Also, just so you know, I didn't catch this in the Reformer. I'm not a rabid Reformer reader. The district installed a security system that has both cameras and motion detectors, and it's the first security system used there. The scale house got broken into once, and the offices got broken into once. And so the perpetrator has been identified and charged by Brattleboro Police, and to the best of my knowledge was a former employee who was somehow irked. And nothing of great value or lots of money was taken, but you know, it's been I consider an unusual business tactic to have gone that long without any kind of systems at all. The same thing happened this year in terms of what they were doing with their computers and their networking. And you know, they finally woke up and said, gosh, we really should use somebody that's officially experienced in the matter, and make sure that we're always up to date and that we've got, you know, backups going on, et cetera, et cetera. So a number of improvements have been made that you would expect from any ongoing business. So I'm happy about that. I went ahead and included the link back to the Waste District website, because all our Board of Supervisors notices, all our agendas, and all of our minutes are on there. And it is complete, going back to January of 2017. So that's kind of a, you know,
That's great.
Yeah.
a picture in a nutshell. I don't know the right words. My husband usually corrects me. So, as I say, I'll email this to you. And I have, you know, a year's worth of notes for any other potential details that you may not want to miss. I think...
You know, Michelle, Dummerston is very lucky to have someone so thorough
Absolutely.
representing us in the Wyndham Solid Waste Management
I am delighted.
I
am delighted.
get on my knees every night and just thank goodness it's not the select board. It's not the select board doing this. Sure.
Well, the truth is, you guys are doing the heavy lifting with the real business, so
You go on thinking that.
I'll just keep feeding into you. And the board seems to think that they don't have anybody else that's willing to, you know, stick their neck out and be their chair, so I've continued to be the chair of the board, even though it was never my intention or my real, yeah.
Thank you.
It's not
Yes.
generally my personality style.
I
Let's
think
just put
you
it this
have.
way.
I think you've done a great job.
Well, I'll keep doing it, and it
Great.
also means that I get to have some more insight into a few things, like, you know, the solar on the landfill
Yeah.
and walking out on it. I've got some great pictures I'll send to you.
Good.
It's beautiful, so,
Great.
thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for doing
Thanks for
this.
the update.
So in March, when they're reappointing, we know your name's already
We
in, right?
have already written it in, already done.
Thanks, Michelle. And you guys did a
Yeah.
good job on that ribbon cutting too, by the way, all of you down there that day
Oh,
that did that.
I'm so
thanks.
glad.
Yep.
I'm sorry the weather didn't cooperate.
No, it was worked out.
Yeah,
great.
that
It's
was,
okay.
yeah.
You're welcome, you're welcome. It's a pleasure. Good to see
Great.
you again, Louis.
Thank you very much.
Sorry I missed meeting Rachel, but you're welcome.
Okay,
I think I'm the last, right?
okay, you'll
Thank you.
let us know when the budget is finalized.
Sure.
Great.
I'll be there next Thursday.
Yep.
I think they're giving us, you know, some free sandwiches and
Whoa.
crackers and, you know,
Okay.
cheese and
It's an open meeting, right?
So
Open-
it's an open
to the
meeting, so
public.
you're all welcome to come and
Yeah.
have a snack and hear the word. But thanks
All right,
again.
Louis,
All right.
I might be there. if it's
All right.
food.
See you soon.
You'll be up on the way.
There you go.
Good night.
All right, thank you, Michelle.
Thanks, Michelle.
See you soon.
All right. Well, any news from our road foreman? Any messages to pass on?
No, I mean, he just, wasn't a lot of, the two storms didn't seem to affect him that much. You know, I think he heard they had to leave a truck up there for a day or so until they get some wires moved. He said they didn't require a lot of overtime from that last storm. I guess I see the paving that he's looking at, that's in the budget, is gonna be this year tentatively, as we look at that budget, it's gonna be from the covered bridge coming east. And that will be, Dillon recrowning,
Okay.
and we're planning on a mile. Just what the budget is for the paving budget that's coming in. I think that's it.
Okay. I know they've been patching some of the potholes around town. Okay. Is there anything under correspondence for information that you'd like to discuss?
I'm not gonna be here tomorrow. I would like to go on to that meeting down at the community center tomorrow, but I'm not gonna be here for that. If that's for the deer run,
Yeah.
if anybody else is interested or has time to go.
Right.
I'll be there.
Okay, maybe you can give us a report
Okay.
at the next meeting. That's good. Okay, so we've already done that. Under new business, the time is almost up when we need to re-enroll in the healthcare insurance for town employees. Pam has been working on that, sent a letter out to all of the employees. Apparently, I haven't heard any negative information. Everyone's okay with continuing. As I said at our last meeting, We're slightly different program that's almost exactly the same, but it's going to result in I think it's a $2 increase per month per employee. And this is a, let's see, MVP reflective silver 4 HD HP program. And so we would continue with the HSA that we have. There's only been a couple $100 used from the HRA so far this year, so we may not even need to put more money into the HRA. But
I think that it's, correct me if I'm wrong, it's not any change to the plan they had last year. They have to, because of a complexity with the insurance provider, they have to re-enroll, and that's why it's called reflective silver. It's people that were on the silver plan this year and are going to continue on it, but they have to re-enroll.
Right.
So there's really no change to the plan.
no.
There's no change to the benefits. That's what I want to say. No change to the benefits they're receiving.
There's a slight change in ambulance copay, but other
Okay.
than that, no change.
Yeah.
And Zeke, what was it, the reflective silver, what was it, 1, 2, 3, or 4? Which one?
4.
4? Okay.
And last year we met with the road crew and people who were, eligible for this in person, but it's not necessary to do that this year. Pam is taking care of the logistics and the information.
Pam has taken, provided written information for everyone.
Okay.
She's been talking with everyone.
So we don't need to meet with them in
I
person.
don't
Yeah.
think so.
Seems not necessary. So.
And the issue, there's one new employee, and he'll have to decide soon whether he wants to enroll in this or get a
Stipend.
payment in lieu of insurance. So we would need a motion to go with this program for the next insurance year, pretty much a calendar year.
This is for the road crew and the town clerk.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah, or anyone who works for the town 30 hours or more.
And currently those are the only people that are covered, right?
Yep.
And, okay. Okay.
Well, I would move that we approve the decision to go with the MVP reflective silver number 4 plan for Dummerston town employees.
Second that.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, I'll let Pam know. Let's see, do you have any gravel pit updates?
So just a couple of things. So as far as we talked about the permits a couple weeks ago, and I think Louis, you talked to Roger, but we missed the deadline to get in on December because he needed a full month to get it out because of the newspaper. I think we could have worked out a little. So the DRB already has 2 applications for January.
Yep.
I've asked Roger, just because I don't want to interact directly with the DRB, though I think this question would be simple enough, but to ask them if they would be willing to hold an additional meeting. They've done it, they've had 2 in the past, so we may try to get on to a DRB agenda for January, and I can't remember if it's I forget which day it is, but one of the days in January.
Who was it that needed a full month?
So that to get all the warnings done, and because he was looking at the Commons as the paper in the timeline he needed to get it, because the DRB is meeting on the 18th of December. When we approached him a week or so ago.
Him being Roger.
Roger, they didn't have time to get on their agenda.
Was there a possibility of going with the Reformer instead of the Commons?
I guess we're past that question.
Yeah, but
yes, there should have been.
okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Roger knows that now.
Yes.
That's an option.
Yeah.
Okay.
We talked about that a little bit. So, not in depth because it was, but yes, that in the future that's something to know.
Okay.
We can make we can make that adjustment and not, wait. We've done that in the past.
Mm-hmm.
We've had to do that. So,
Yeah, sure.
So just on that, so that's the town permit, just asking for an extension of the SB lands from 2022, probably for a 5-year extension. We did get that proposal from Stevens, but it was close to $14,000, and I don't think we need to do that. I think we can go to the town ourselves. So I'm trying to get us on there. We'll try to get on the January agenda. We'll go in front of them. Did you see Mike Lewis? Did you?
No, I did not
Okay.
see Mike, no.
So I talked with Mike. So how that would work, because he's the owner of the land. We will be the applicant, the town, but Mike will sign it as the landowner, and he's fully on board with doing that. So once we can get that taken care of, we'll get that application in. We'll hear back from the DRB. So the only thing that could potentially happen is they have 45 days to issue their decision, and then the appeal process can be 30 days. But if we go to the hearing and they can get the decision earlier, we can't put any pressure on them, but we can certainly ask them or explain we're trying to get this done. That 30-day period starts from the day the decision's mailed. So it's going to be close to town meeting, but we'll know the decision. We just won't know if somebody's going to appeal it or not. So that's kind of the update on the permits. Do you have anything else on that one? Lee he worked with the Putney Road foreman, and they kind of had just a list of responsibilities that they had initially worked out. So I've given those to Bob Fisher. So as he and the Putney attorneys start to work out the intermunicipal agreement, he'll have those bullets to put in as far as it's storm law. It's a couple of permitting things, not permitting, a couple of reporting requirements, and then it just talks about material that's coming out, just the basic things like that. That's all I have. Unless you guys have any questions.
So, Louis, did you go with Hugh to any meetings or participate?
I don't believe there's been any.
No. So I was out of town last week with a family thing. So Louis said he and I have been talking about. We kind of just did some background on the gravel pit, and then he was actually doing the legwork, trying to get the application filled out. Talking to Roger, and then we'll try to get hold of Mike and have him sign that thing so we can get going. So
Thanks.
we are going to try next week. I'm going to try to get with Putney town manager. So we'll try to pick a day next week. We might get up there and just look at a spreadsheet. We're both working on a couple different spreadsheets on material and cost. So if we can we just want to look at those together. And then I think I'll talk to Bob. I'm trying to talk to him too much. He charges by the 15 minutes. But
Once you get on there, stay for the full 15, don't go with 16.
Yeah. So I don't, just find out, I think the next step is, we have a price, and it's a matter of when he feels it's okay to make that public, and I think the sooner we can do that, then, not that we've generated a lot of questions yet, but we can start putting out the information, like this is the amount of material that's there, this is the cost of the pit, these are some expected, blasting costs, things like that. People have to understand it's a work in progress, but at least the information will be public, and then that may generate some additional questions for us to,
Yeah. So people can start to put this information together so they can make an informed decision when we get to town meeting.
Yes. Yeah. So I'd like to get that out. As soon as he feels it's comfortable, I think the sooner the better, just to kind of just lay everything out on the table. Get going. So.
Okay. Great. All right. Good. I think we're still waiting on the school board to get back to us on the next step of the playing fields.
I did ask Christina if the Dummerston School Board signed the lease and then the merge happened and they became a unified board, would then the unified board honor the lease? And she said yes, that they would honor all contracts and leases that the Dummerston School Board signed onto.
Right.
And was that our question?
That was one of our questions. Yep.
That was the only one I asked her.
No,
I thought that was the only
just,
question.
you know, we're sort of waiting on them. They,
Right.
in order, the process, they're the ones selling this property to the town, and so they have to hold a hearing. And so we're pretty much waiting on them.
Just reading that article in the paper when I got up here, it seems like if that unified school district doesn't want to, it did say building, it did say building and land. It said if they don't want to use that within, I think, 5 years, then the first offer goes to the town to buy it for $1.
Right.
So I mean, does that change any urgency or perceived threat to the land that would be out there? That's kind of a rhetorical question. I don't know the answer, but I think it seems there's more information becoming available.
I think there's right, I read, there was a link in one of the articles to the full, the next steps, and how this would all play out, and the transfer, and voting for unified board members, and how they would treat the property of the different towns.
Right.
So I was uncertain as to whether or not this was still an issue or not. But I'll let the school board take the next step.
Okay.
So, let's see. Anybody have anything else? We could, as the evening's still young, we could go into a work session, work a little bit more on the budget.
So, procedurally, can we, I would just say if it's procedurally correct, that I would wish we adjourn these select board meetings so we can then go into a work session.
I would second that.
Okay, discussion. Since we wouldn't be coming to any decisions, I think that we could do that. So, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.